Hi. Since our research paper is going to be due in just about a week, I wanted to talk to you today about citation formatting, and the individual parts of a citation. I'm not really going to be talking about how to put a citation together because there are plenty of different websites on the internet that'll do that for you basically automatically. Instead, I want to start by talking about the reason that all of the individual parts of the citation need to be there. Now, take a look at the visual as I've got it laid out here. Notice that we've got a number of circles that all fit within one another. The reason that I've got it laid out this way is to make sure that you know that each part of a citation gets more and more important as you go through it. Beginning with the author's last name, this corresponds to the largest of our circles in yellow. This is the most general piece of information, and that's because of the fact that a publishing author has often published a lot of different things. So just knowing the author's name doesn't really get us very far to getting to exactly the source that you used. The following circle, the next smallest one, is in baby blue, and that circle corresponds to the title of the thing that we're referring to. We're one level more specific, but still, there are more specific bits of information next. That's because sometimes titles could be used for, say, an article in a conference talk. Sometimes titles are kind of vague. Sometimes titles might even start to sound like other titles. So there's lots of other information we need here to get to the exact piece of information you used in your paper. Following that, our next circle, and this is the one in the brighter shade of red here, the third circle in, corresponds to the title of the major published work where the article appeared. Now, I say major published work because this is the container in which the article was published. Take a look at the formatting here. Articles, or smaller parts of larger things, will always be in quotation marks. The larger publications that articles or maybe chapters are smaller parts of, the larger one will be in italics, as you see here in our example. Going further in from that, take a look next at the information that corresponds to our military green circle. That's the volume and pagination information. Here, we're getting more specific finally. This is the information that helps us to get to the specific place in which you found the information you're using. This is important because if we're referring to this in paper form, we would need to know the volume and page. But more and more, even in digital form, things are paginated the same way. So we'll have page numbers even in something that's digital that you could very well have accessed online. Following that, take a look at the bright green. This is where we have the database name and discrete object identifier. Finally, this starts getting us at exactly where and how you accessed the information. 90% plus of the time, we're getting to all of our different databases through the internet. It's rare to look something up on paper these days. So we want to make sure that we note what database we used and specifically the identifier to take your reader to that piece of research information if he or she needs to get there. Finally, and most importantly, we need to make sure that we've got the date of last access, and that's because things on the internet change a lot. Internet information is often updated, it's sometimes relocated, it's sometimes even deleted. So we really do need to know when you accessed what you accessed. Now, following that, I've got a works cited page laid out, but note that 4 out of 5 of the citations are in really gibberish. It's just filler text. Don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have to. Notice 2 things, though, about the way that the page is formatted. One, everything is alphabetized according to the first letter of the citation, right? Going down the left-hand side, we have D, N, Q, T, and V. Also, things are in hanging indentation. That is, for each of our hypothetical citations here, only the first line goes over to the left-hand margin, and all the other lines are indented by half an inch to the right. The second citation up from the bottom corresponds to the one we just looked at. Again, it's our fictional article by Robert Throttlebottom. Please note that it's formatted the way that all other citations are. It's double-spaced like everything else, and all the information is the same here as we noted before, right? Again, just make sure with your works cited page that it's in alphabetical ordering, and it's also in hanging indentation, and all that's just to make it easier on the reader to find what they're looking for. Now, the following 2 pages are designed to show you that there's a real problem if you place your parenthetical citations in text in the wrong place. With the first page here, Note that if we just put a parenthetical citation at the end, it's not clear at all how much information there is from that source. It might be the entire paragraph, it might be half the paragraph, it might just be the last sentence of the paragraph. So placing this way really isn't helpful at all. All we know is that some of the paragraph is from that source. We want more specificity, right? A research paper is all about being able to link information to exactly where and how we got it. Following that, though, is an example of a more effective placement. In this case, putting the citation further up means that only the information in the first 5 lines or so of our paragraph could have come from that source, right? So we're immediately getting more specific about exactly what came from the cited source and making it easier to link the information to the source it comes from. Now, the best way of doing it is on this following page, where we've got a practice that I call citation bracketing here. What I mean is this. The first part of the citation is where you've got the phrase that begins according to. After that, the second part of the citation bracketing is the parenthetical citation that you've seen before. I'm calling this bracketing because of the fact that the information that came from that source is bracketed by the 2 parts. We know that only the lines in the middle of the 2 parts could possibly have come from that source, and this is the most specific that we could possibly get. By virtue of that fact, it's also the most helpful, right? So remember that whenever possible, we want to use this citation bracketing practice so that there's no question whatsoever of how much information comes from the source that we're citing. Now, that's been a fairly small discussion of citation practices, but it is enough to set you on the right path for citing in your paper. Right? Again, make sure that you've got all necessary information in your end citations. Make sure that the end citations are formatted in double spacing, alphabetical order, and hanging indentation. Make sure that parenthetical citations in text contain the same information that begins the end citation. And finally, make sure that it's always apparent based on the parenthetical citation and hopefully some sort of according to line in the text of your paper exactly how much information comes from the cited source. Thanks for listening. Good luck in writing, and please don't hesitate to email me if I can help you at all.